What's up, y'all? Again, y'all are too hot. It's time to find a job. So that's what my focus is today. I've come to a good stopping point, I think, on everything else. So our focus today is to find a job. There's a couple of prerequisites that I need to keep in mind. I did the clothes thing. I haven't gotten everything paired up, but it's pretty much at a good point. And the remaining stuff, I didn't wash the coats like I said I was, because I really don't need coats. Do I need to spend money to wash coats right now? I don't think so. Yeah, so I need to, as far as food and groceries and things like that, I've been eating really unhealthy, like processed foods, because it was easier. And like I said, with the situation I was in, I wasn't really comfortable coming out too much. So I try to stay here. Um, but I need to get conditioner for my hair. I'm down to like little sample bottles. So I need to do that. I need to buy toothpaste because I'm down to, after the little bit that I have in my tube, I'm down to like sample tooth toothpaste. And then I need to get some sticky rice and some ribs because I think I'm down to like chili and ravioli is what I'm down to in the cabinet. So, with the job hunting thing, I wanted to, and this has been over the past couple of years, I wanted to do it in a way that's more conscious and more in a way that will hold employers responsible, for, what they present. Not necessarily legally, but just what they present, period. Because over the years, I've been treated just awfully, like stuff that, could not be legal, morally correct, and all that other stuff. So I wanted to avoid that happening, and I don't want to ever be put in a position where, especially after that legal thing, where, my integrity or who I am or who I portray myself to be is ever questioned. When I first did my other channel, that was one of the purposes too, because you get tired of explaining to people over and over again, what the situation is. And, the truth of the matter, someone told me, is that a lot of times when you put those things down on your application, people will call you in for an interview just to be nosy, to find out, what all this is. And so I'm kind of sick of it. I was going to do a separate channel just for employment related issues, but I decided, because they want you to have a different, a phone, you have to have a phone number associated when you create a new account, and they will not allow you to use the same number continuously. So I wasn't able to set up a new account. But so we'll start from here. I'll just do sub series. Like, this will be my employment series. And, who I am personally and professionally are basically the same. Um, good or bad. Like previously, I was mostly professional, but, as a result of everything that's gone on, as y'all can see, I'm very different now. But sometimes our weakest attribute is sometimes our greatest. And the thing about it is that, there is no duality in it. Everything is consistent and the same. And I want to make sure, because a lot of times with employers, this past employer that I had, when I was hired on, sometimes you're so, especially a person in a situation like me, you're so happy to get a job. And not the day, but the evening one was unscrupulous. You're so happy to get a job. You see cues already. Like when I was hired there, the person that interviewed me says normally the hiring manager does this interview, and it's kind of weird that he didn't. Okay, so that was one thing. Then that same person, I mean, just, when I was filling out the paperwork, when you do the tax forms, filling out the top part, like the worksheet is optional. That's for the person if they need to figure it out. Um, and so I didn't fill it out. And I guess it was a young guy. He didn't know any better. And he was just like, no, you have to fill that out. No, you don't. You know? And another employee had to kind of educate him on that. Then, when I asked for copies of the documents that I signed, because your new hire paperwork and all of that stuff, those are legal documents. That's a contract binding you as to what you will and will not do. You know, just like the application is part of that. But in the end, there were some things that happened there. The way that I was treated, kind of on the sly, that made me feel kind of, you know, not so happy, and you could see it in my countenance. I wasn't angry, but I was hurt. I was sullen. And at first I thought it was just me, but then a situation happened where someone said something to me that I thought was disrespectful. I asked the manager to address it. I asked them in writing, then I asked them verbally. They kind of laughed at it. And I was like, no, it's not funny. And I had to repeat like 4 times and kind of try to put on a serious, angry face for them to even try. And really, they really weren't going to, but the person that was the more heartfelt of the two managers did. And when they did address it, that person that was just so happy at making fun of me and poking at me or whatever, all of a sudden they became the sullen person just from them being talked to on the way that they treated me. And I don't know what the situation was, because obviously, they had a whole clique where, things were said and shared kind of on the sly, directly but indirectly. So I don't know what the whole situation was, but that was why my countenance was that way. And as a result, I got less and less hours. And then I was told to do things that I thought were not right, like, throwing people out. And I'm like, I'm a minimum wage worker that works maybe 2 days a week. And you're doing that. You're telling me to throw them out. They're going to go complain to you. And then you tell them, oh, she was a bad person. And so that's indeed exactly what happened. And then you get rewarded with little bonus chips. I felt like when that type of thing happened, I kind of felt like, I've kind of had a disdain for, you know, having a father that was a black man in the military, and how you see how they pumped all the black men up. First, they disenfranchised all black men. Then you're saying, hey, be a part of Patriot, serve your country. And so black men wanted to show they were loyal. So they went and got absolutely nothing. When you look outside, you see homeless black men or men standing on the corner. And my dad wasn't, he tried, you know. And it's so funny that, but he drank, I think a lot of, the system causes people to have a lot of issues. So he drank. And it's so funny that, after my parents divorced, I didn't see him probably almost next to never. But I heard of other people seeing him, and that he was renting a room somewhere. And it was so funny, ironically, that when I decided that I was going to take a break from college, because the real world was completely different than what I thought it was supposed to be, and I needed to be retrained on how to be by my mom. Um, she was not having it. I worked 2 jobs. I worked at a bank during the day, at a market research place at night, and I ended up staying in a hotel, paying like, I don't know, like 800 something dollars, a month, which really at that time, that was like 20 something years ago, was a lot. But I was determined that I was going to make it, and I was going to prove that I was going to do well, and I was going to come back and help my mom and do this, that, and the other. But then I realized that, hey, I could get a room for rent cheaper, and I did, and it was like a third of the price, which is coincidentally the same thing that's happening here. And the place that I found a room for rent, the guy recognized me. He went to school with my sister. The man that owned the place recognized, said I looked familiar. The people in the neighborhood said I looked familiar because my dad rented from that place too. My dad used to rent from that man. And the ironic thing about it was that place, being I haven't seen my father like maybe twice after my parents' divorce. And the last time was when I guess he was almost dying, and he wanted me to make sure I told my mom that he loved her. But, and he kind of chased me down in the mall. He saw me in the mall and chased me down. it's so funny to me. It's just so much irony in that. Because I remember feeling like, he was right there. I wasn't devastated by anything, but he could have, came and visited if he wanted. But the truth is, maybe that's the same thing. I'm sure my nieces and things like that don't care about me, but because of whatever was said about me. But I'm sure it's the same thing that, if they do care, just as, just normal innocent caring that children do, that they probably think the same thing. Like one of my nieces said to me, well, why don't you just move home? And that's, closer to them. And that's what I wanted to do. But I wasn't well received at all. And one of my viewers told me it was painful to watch because I vlogged about it when it happened. It broke my heart to pieces in so many different ways that I couldn't even vlog about. That was indirectly, all the things I saw surrounding it. But everything happens for a reason, and I haven't been back, and I can't go back because I know, she meant it when she didn't even say it directly, but I'm no longer a part of that family. So anyhow, so it's a lot of irony there, but we're gonna go on and start the job process.